Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher, and I'm delighted to be here with my team to represent Great Wolstead School. It is now my honour and privilege to welcome and introduce Matty Sutton, a classmate and friend, who will be speaking to you later on the subject, Contact Rugby Should Be Banned in Schools. Don't all gasp in horror. Wait until Matty presents his arguments. With England competing against Ireland for the Rugby Six Nations final later today, and several of their star players already injured, this seemed like an appropriate topic. I would also like to introduce Jack Jones, who will propose the vote of thanks. Now, to Matty and why he is suitable to talk to us on this subject. Matty is one of the most intelligent people I know. He reads many books and researches everything in great detail. He is an academic scholar and has a keen eye for detail, looking at the arguments for and against everything he comes across. Rugby is a compulsory sport at our school, like many schools, and Matty's a good player, but he's experienced the physical violence of this sport at first hand. He's also an excellent actor and a confident speaker, and seen the natural choice. Now, back to our topic. Have you ever witnessed a rugby injury firsthand? Do you have any rugby battle scars from your past? Have you ever thought that the sport should be banned in schools? I would now like to hand you over to Matty, who will assist you in making that decision. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Chris has said, I believe that contact rugby should be banned in schools. I can hear you saying, ban contact rugby? It's a great sport for letting off steam. But I'll present you with 3 compelling reasons to support my proposal. I'll give you examples to show why contact rugby should be banned. My reasons centre on, firstly, the severe and long-lasting injuries caused by children playing contact rugby in schools. Secondly, the misguided practice of forcing children to play such a dangerous sport, often against their wishes and contrary to their human rights. And thirdly, the irresponsibility of promoting the values of rugby. Or, as Winston Churchill said, rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen. My first argument against contact rugby in schools is the medical evidence and statistics that show just how many injuries occur on school rugby fields. Professor Pollock of Barts in London has studied school rugby and injuries. In her investigation, children playing rugby had a 1 in 6 chance of being seriously injured during a season. She concludes that it is highly unlikely that a rugby-playing child will complete their schooling without experiencing a serious rugby injury. Earlier this year, 70 doctors, academics, and public health officials called on the government to protect children from the risks of harmful contact in school rugby. Last month, The Times reported on a new study showing that minor head injuries from playing rugby during childhood could increase the risk of psychiatric problems, disability, and poor academic achievement. This highlights the concerning statistic that says 20% of all rugby injuries result in concussion. In fact, last September, when I started working on this speech, Jack, our vote of thanks, was concussed, almost lost consciousness, and was unable to play sport for 2 weeks as a result of a rugby injury. 67% of all sporting injuries in schools are caused by rugby, and 87% of concussions in schools are again caused by rugby. Maybe you're thinking, is rugby not so great now? My second reason for proposing that contact rugby should be banned in schools is that children should not be forced to play a sport that even the United Nations has called a high-risk collision sport. Just because children are small in size does not mean they should have child-sized human rights. Article 19 of the UN Convention on Children's Rights states that children will be protected from all forms of physical and mental violence, injury, and abuse. The UNICEF report on violence in sport stresses the need to consult with children about choosing the sport they do. In law, when someone participates in a sport, they consent to the risk of injury, but often contact rugby is compulsory in schools. Am I convincing you yet? My final reason for proposing that contact rugby should be banned in schools is that some of the values and behaviours involved do not belong in 21st century education. Peer pressure massively affects rugby these days. It's the hardcore sport, and you're expected to get up, even if you might be injured. Is this sort of approach really acceptable in the 21st century? People often say that rugby develops character. If character involves rampaging around a field, flooring people, and sheer brutality, then they might be right. As one retired professional sportsman said, rugby's great. The players don't wear helmets or padding, they just beat the living daylights out of each other, then go for a beer. I love that. You may have seen in the press last year coverage of a prestigious Australian school from which video footage emerged of an activity involving flipping and tackling a farmer's sheep, which was part of their rugby training. It was condemned as cruel and irresponsible by animal welfare organisations. One may ask, how would we react if it were people they were demonstrating on? That school's head, a former rugby player for Durham University, was on hand to reassure the world that he was satisfied the activity was properly supervised and no animals or boys were hurt, and to insist the task was not dissimilar to the one undertaken by shearers. In conclusion, I expect many of you are wanting to get home soon, so you don't miss the final England Six Nations rugby match against Ireland that starts at 5 this afternoon. It is billed as rugby's greatest championship. England may win the Grand Slam and the Triple Crown. However, a number of leading players will be missing from this weekend's Six Nations rugby matches, with a broken hand and knee, arm and shoulder injuries, and serious concussion. Given the facts we know about rugby in schools, and especially the facts about injuries, it is quite clear the time has come to stop forcing children to play such a dangerous sport and let them experience some of the other wonderful sports the world has to offer.
Thank you very much, Matty, for that convincing take on contact rugby should be banned in schools. Are there any questions, Mr. Tanner?
Yes, thank you, Matty. You make a very compelling case, but given all of your arguments, why do you think schools still do make their pupils play rugby?
Why do schools make their pupils do all the rugby?
Thank you for that interesting question. I think it raises an important point. How this is almost a case of sheep following sheep. This started at some quite posh private schools decided, let's play an interesting game of rugby. Then what happened was, all the other schools thought, that's a good idea. Actually, they're paying quite a lot of pupils, and everyone seems to be liking this. So then what happened is, they did. Next thing we know, actually what happens is the whole country is doing this. But really what we think is it's actually time to stop, and let's let people think clearly about what rugby actually is. Do we actually really want to be playing this with children?
I would now like to hand you over to Jack Jones to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Matty, for that compelling speech. Contact rugby should be banned in schools. I have to admit, I'm a rugby player myself, and on first hearing this title, I was not in agreement. But having heard your arguments, you have changed my mind. I thought you presented your speech with great confidence and showed us really why contact rugby should be banned. I was surprised to hear that 67% of all sporting injuries in schools are caused by rugby tackling, and 87% of all concussions in schools are again caused by rugby. I agree with what you said about how children are forced into playing a sport that can result in serious injuries. You answered your question about the medical evidence brilliantly well. I was enthralled in your facts and figures throughout, especially on the injury and health issues. You did make me laugh when you talked about an Australian school's rugby training programme on a flock of farmer sheep, although I did feel sorry for them. You answered your question brilliantly well, and I agree with the idea that it's child safety we're talking about, and it's not just about whether they like it or not, it's about their safety. I agree with what you said, again, about how just because children are small in size does not mean they should have child-size rights. And how rugby tackling and the violence in the game can result in a child's behaviour on and indeed off the rugby pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all listening to Matty's speech, and I hope after hearing the speech I'll be all taken into account. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for Matty Sutton. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for St. Teresa's School for hosting this event, the Rotary Club, the esteemed judges, the timekeeper, the questioner, Mr. Tanner, and thank you very much for your time, the audience. I hope you think that we've tackled the subject well.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians and esteemed guests and honourable judges. Welcome to the 2017 Intermediate Entry for the Youth Speakers Competition. We are from the Matthew Arnold School and we will be speaking about a thought-provoking subject, photography. Now, you may all be thinking, photography? Big deal. All you do is whip out your phone and tap a button. But according to our main speaker, Lily Bakemore, photography is so much more than that. As Lily delves deeper into the moral and commercial aspects of photography, it's safe to say that Lily's speech will leave its mark. But first, allow me to introduce the team. To my right is our main speaker, Lily Bakemore. Lily is amazing at photography, one of the best amateur photographers I've seen. Lily also has an unconditional passion for photography, making her perfect for this role. To my left is Neve Crossley, our vote of thanks. Neve was on the team last year's chairperson and is incredibly talented at writing. Neve enjoys dance, musical theatre and drama, and is the occasional chatbox, like myself. Finally, I am Manishka Bale, and I will be your chairperson for this afternoon. Like me, I was on the team last year's main speaker. I enjoy reading, writing, music, long distance running, and irritating my friends by humming songs from the 90s. Now, as our main speaker, Lily writes about how she would want to embrace models for who they are. Tall, short, black, white, or someone who is in the ideal body size. She says she wants her models to be confident, natural, and happy. Lily talks about how celebrities are always getting photoshopped, even if they don't want to be. She also mentions about how social media has brainwashed the children of tomorrow. Would you agree? Well, before you answer, you might want to listen to Lily first. Photography. What it means to me, what it means to you, and what it means to the rest of society. I've chosen this subject because it's a big part in my life. Most of my family enjoy photography, and I've influenced a lot by that. Ever since I started taking photos, I've always wanted to make a difference, make history. But recently, I found it difficult to achieve that. Why is that, you may ask? Social media. The amount of times I've seen a Photoshop celebrity is ridiculous. My photos, I want to embrace people's beauty, not change them. If I was going to Photoshop someone straight after I photographed them, I would have used a different model. I want to show people everyone is beautiful. Tall, short, black, white, boy, girl, sons, daughters. Sometimes I wish I'd never got caught up in the wrath of social media, because sometimes the way I feel about how I look, no one should ever feel. Social media hasn't just caused young girls and boys to be self-conscious, but it's caused them to be self-obsessed. Selfies. We all know them. They're making the young generation only care about what they look like and what lighting will make them look better. The selfies cause a society of brainwashed children to be caught up in the world and changing outfits for likes, comments, boyfriends, girlfriends. What's the point? What is the point? Think about it. When has anyone cared about someone's personality? It all leads back to social media. People have this sanitized, idealized image for themselves. We got this image from Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. Sometimes from all this, I don't even know who people are anymore. Sometimes, even myself. Do we really want to surround ourselves by self-absorbed children, all because of one thing? Social media? This is what we are producing. Children with warped views of the world, totally addicted to the image they produce through biased eyes. Children are living their lives through a phone, not through the real world. I've recently realised I don't need my phone to live my life. I enjoy drawing, writing, photography. Yeah, photography is why all of this started. Or more accurately, Photoshop. People think the point of Photoshop is to improve or perfect people, making someone's nose slimmer or their face thinner. I see it as something completely different. A way to enhance someone's beauty, adjust the lighting, add filters. What's all this nonsense about being picture perfect? What's wrong with being curvy, having a double chin, or celluloid? This is what makes us human. And if someone doesn't perceive you as being picture perfect, it can lead to cyberbullying. Over 25% of children and teens are bullied repeatedly by mobile phones or the internet. Cyberbullying can cause self-harm, depression, eating disorders, and sometimes suicide. But it's not just young children getting cyberbullied. It's also celebrities. People abuse the power of photography in the most terrible ways. The paparazzi purposely go out and find flaws in celebrities and embarrass them publicly. The thing that people don't understand is there's a fine line between being a fan and invading someone's privacy. Celebrities are people first, and we need to understand that. A lot of celebrities have gone through times where magazines have photoshopped them, and they haven't agreed to it. I respect a number of celebrities standing up for them. It's like it made me feel more confident and sure many other people felt the same. This happened to Lady Gaga. After she was the result of a shoot with Glam magazine, she quoted, "I felt my skin looked too perfect. I felt my hair looked too soft. I do not look like this when I wake up in the morning." She was very courageous to speak up about this, and soon after, the original photo was up. In fact, use of Photoshop, not photography, is taking over the world. Sometimes, I can't even remember what true photography is like. True photography is making history, capturing that moment. Being able to grab my camera out of my bag and make history in one click amazes me, and I immediately feel at ease. Photos like waiting for the people going to Titanic goodbye, the last moments of the Twin Towers, babies' first steps. All these things remind me of the true beauty of photography. You don't need to suck your stomach into the beauty of the photo. Just smile. A smile is the most beautiful thing you can wear. Every time I see someone smile, it makes me happy. I want my models to be happy, to be comfortable, and most of all, confident. I believe that everyone is beautiful. No one needs to change anything about themselves. There's no such thing as perfect, so don't listen to bullies, and don't put yourself down for the exact same as a celebrity. You are you for a reason. You were born for a reason. You make history. I have one wish. It's that when my children are my age, they never worry about what they look like. Live every day as no tomorrow. They stroll to the streets without caring in the world. Be happy, do what makes you happy, make others happy. I want to make a difference in this world. No matter how hard it is, people deserve to be happy. I won't stop until I get there. And when I do, I'll take a photo of it, because a photo is worth much more than 1,000 words. I would now like to invite a question from you.
Thank you. You've reminded us how easy it is now with the technology that many of us in this room have got in our pockets to able to take photographs, to edit them and to post them. Do you think we really can change the way people behave and improve things in the way that you hope?
So, Liz, do you think that we really can change the way that people behave? Thank you for that question. I think there's always going to be some person who's going to be photoshopping. There's going to be some person who's going to be abusing the positives of social media. And I think the way we could change it is not just going to Adobe and saying, get rid of all these things that can Photoshop, because it's not going to make people want to change. It's going to still, people may still think, well, maybe if I Photoshop, people will like me more, maybe I could reach their expectations. So I think by just get rid of everything isn't going to work. There's just running away from the problems. I think I would approach people, maybe starting from school, or use social media in a positive way by sending my message that I've just delivered in my speech by saying, Photoshopping is not going to make you feel better about yourself. It's going to add more insecurities. And I think by embracing who you really are on the outside, whether it's a scar you have or freckles, a scar can tell a story. Anything is who you are. Thank you, Lily. I would now like to introduce our vote of thanks, Neve Crossley.
Thank you, Nushka, and well done, Lily, for the great answer to the remarkable question. I agree with what you said. By embracing who you are and using social media in a positive way, we can actually start changing and moving away from photoshopping. Who would have thought something as simple as a natural photo on the internet could change how someone thinks about himself or herself? That they need to change the whole image rather than embrace the beauty they already possess. That a child can be manipulated by the thoughts of them not being picture perfect. I especially liked how Lily mentioned that the true meaning of photography is being lost because of photoshopping. Photography should be capturing the moment, making history in a click, creating a memory to look upon another day. Not take a photo and edit it instantly to make it look perfect to biased eyes. Now, after listening to Lily's speech, we can conclude that an untouched photo is more precious and valuable than a frivolous selfie or a photoshopped image. Photographs are used to capture the moment and should be used accordingly. When you go to take a photo, don't spend hours trying to find the right shot or the correct lighting. Just capture the moment. It will be perfect just the way it is. Thank you to the Rotary Club for preparing the Youth Speaks competition. Both me and my teammates are all very grateful that you've given us the opportunity to speak about a topic we care for dearly. Thank you to the judges and esteemed guests for taking time out of your schedule to listen to our speeches. Thank you to Mr. Hank for the great question. Lily clearly enjoyed that one. Before I say my final thanks, I'd like to say good luck to our fellow competitors. We believe you'll do very well. Thank you to Miss Lockhart, our teacher, for helping us prepare for the Youth Speaks competition. Thank you to Anushka for being such a professional chairperson. And thank you to Lily for creating such a developed speech on photography. Can we show our appreciation in the usual manner?
This has been our entry for the Youth Speaks competition. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests and fellow competitors. My name is Marie-Louise Kelly, and I'm delighted to be your chairperson for the St Catherine's Intermediate Team presentation. We are very excited to be taking part in our second Rotary Youth Speaks competition. We really enjoyed participating last year and learnt more and more as the rounds progressed, strengthening our team skills as a consequence. We would like to thank the Rotary Club for the opportunity to air our views in such meaningful ways. I think it is also perhaps timely, given the current post-truth environment in which we all find ourselves, that children are encouraged to develop the skills of persuasion through logic and dialogue. Now let me introduce you to the team. To my left is Grace Taylor. She will be the proposer of the vote of thanks. She is 13 years old, and when she's not practicing her public speaking and debating, she finds time to play the clarinet and also enjoys acting. More from Grace later. Now let me turn to our key speaker, Victoria Epstein. She is also 13 years old. Her hobbies involve playing tennis, learning Russian, and like Grace, she spends a good deal of her time practicing her public speaking and debating. Victoria's topic this afternoon is sleep. Yes, that's right, sleep. That thing that we all do at the end of every day, or maybe in the middle of the day too if we're lucky. So there'll be something for everyone in her talk. Victoria tells me, as a teenager, she is obsessed with sleep, and she wonders whether we're getting enough of it. She'll be talking about how it links to mental health and the nature of our dreams. So without further ado, let me hand you over to Victoria. Victoria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marie-Louise. 7 to 8 hours a night, if we're lucky. 217 hours a month, and 2,604 hours a year. Sleep. We all do it, and we all need it. In fact, you might be interested to know we spend 1/3 of our lives in the land of Nod. So, little audience participation, if you don't mind. Hands up, who had a really good sleep last night? It's interesting, isn't it? It seems like only some of us are getting what we need. But why do we need sleep? Well, whilst we are sleeping, we can strengthen our mind and rehearse the communication and social skills we learn during our waking hours. This is why sleeping is very important. It is scientifically proven that the average person needs sleep to maintain a healthy mind and body. It also benefits your heart, your weight, and your brain function. Did you know that a giraffe only needs 1.9 hours of sleep to function properly? And to make an unusual link, it's been discovered that Donald Trump only sleeps for a few hours more. Whilst a giraffe may be able to function on such little sleep, I'm not sure he can. This may be the reason why some of his policies seem extraordinary and potentially dangerous. Perhaps for the future safety of our free world, he needs to get some shut-eye. One of the most important parts of sleeping, for me, is dreaming. And this is the second area I want to talk to you about. I'm sure most people in this room have woken up too early from a pleasant dream and closed their eyes again in the hope of restarting that favourable dream. On the other hand, I'm sure many of us have been pleased to awake from dreams that have disturbed us and to realise, with relief, it was only just a dream. I could see some nodding from the audience on that one. Positive dreaming allows us to be who we want to be. We might even be heroes, like in those you've seen at the movies. Sometimes we can shape our dreams, twisting the plotline to suit our egos. And this phenomena is known as lucid dreaming, where we are active participants in our own subconscious worlds. This in turn is an excellent example of the power of the brain during the wee small hours of the night. Did you know that a toddler does not star in his or her own dream until the age of 5 or 6? And this is because they don't have the subconscious sense of their identity before this age. The subject of dreams is fascinating. However, I want to return to the quantity of sleep we're getting. Teenagers need more sleep. I know that I speak for the teenagers in this room when I say we are tired most of the time. Well, the teenage body, with all the necessary changes it undergoes, functions better later in the morning. Scientists have discovered that the average teenage body is not ready to be up and at it, so to speak, until 10:45, and they claim that this is due to human biology rather than attitude. So we're not just bad-tempered, there's actually science behind it. So having to get up and at for
the 8:30 school start can be difficult. Some countries have identified this problem and have adapted school start times for teenagers. For example, in Spain, school starts at 9:30 to allow for late Spanish dining times and the inevitable fiestas or two. I say olé to that. More valuable work, however, in my opinion, is happening across the pond in America, where in Minnesota, later school start times have resulted in not only better academic outcomes, but in a significant decline of drug, alcohol, and cigarette intake too. Perhaps here in England, we can adopt these measures and accommodate our tired teens. So I've spoken about tired teens, but tiredness is not only a teen problem. Adults too lack in sleep. Again, I can see some nodding from the audience. I hate to tell you this, but wine is a stimulant. So if you're having a glass or two in the evening, you may well be contributing to your sleeplessness. Sorry about that. Stress in modern life naturally leads to bad sleeping habits in adults and children alike. And somnambulism is on the rise too. Somnambulism, I hear you cry. What's that? Well, in layman's terms, it simply means sleepwalking. Lady Macbeth is perhaps the most famous example of this condition. This Shakespearean femme fatale, who is riddled with guilt after plotting the death of good King Duncan with her ambitious husband Macbeth, stalks her palace, reliving the bloody deed. I'm not saying that adults in this room have committed some heinous crime and prowl their homes at the dead of night. But it is clear that the stabbed sleep patterns are on the rise. We need to get back to good sleep patterns. After all, a well-rested workforce increases profitability and output. So sleep is vital at every stage of our lives. We love to have pleasant dreams. We want to be healthy and active, and we all need lots of it. Finally, when we think of sleeping, we often laugh when we recall Dad or Grandad has fallen asleep after the Sunday roast, or Mum snoring during the night, though she swears it's Dad, or even the student nodding off a maths class. However, I would like to finish by asking you all to spare a kind thought for those who sleep rough in our community. Sleeping in a comfortable bed is challenging enough for some of us. Sleeping on the cold, hard pavement is unimaginable, and our thoughts go out to all those who will be sleeping rough tonight. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon, and more importantly, when you go to bed tonight, sleep well.
Thank you, Victoria, for that fine speech. Now, is there a question from the floor for Victoria?
Thank you. I think you've convinced us all that we need to work on improving the quality of our sleeping. If there was one thing that we could all do that would improve our sleeping, what would it be? What would you recommend?
Thank you very much for your question. And in my opinion, I would encourage you all to maybe read a book before you go to bed. For we all focus so much on our technologies, our phones, our iPads, our computers, and maybe instead of getting in that tiny bit of extra rushed work, maybe read a story. This will help put your brain to sleep. And maybe if you do want to get that tiny bit of work in or play on your phones, because many of us are ignoring this hazard. But this really does disturb your sleep patterns. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for your response, Victoria. Now, will you please join me in a round of applause for Grace Taylor?
Thank you, Marie-Louise, and thank you very much, Victoria, for that interesting talk about sleep. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and none of you nodded off. I was watching you back there. I was relieved to learn that it is perfectly normal for some teenagers to need a bit longer sleep, and the fact that I do usually need a longer lie-in is normal, and I'm not just lazy. I would love to have school start later and an extra hour or so in bed. I found your section on dreams really interesting. I didn't know that toddlers didn't star in their own dreams. As I am obviously not a toddler, I wonder if my standing here talking to you could be me starring in my dream. I've heard that one way to tell whether you are in a dream or in reality is to try and read. Apparently you can't read anything in dreams, even clocks. A question was put by the floor, and it was, what do you think would be good to help us get a better night's sleep. Victoria answered it very well by saying that she thought reading a book would be good, instead of perhaps playing on our phones or doing extra work. I hope you agreed with Victoria. Thank you for your question, and well done on your strong answer, Victoria. I would now like to thank Victoria again for her informative speech, and Marie-Louise for being an excellent chairperson. Thank you to the Rotary Club for organising and attending this event, and to you, the ladies and gentlemen of the audience, for listening so attentively and staying awake. Thank you to our fellow competitors, and good luck this afternoon. Thank you to the judges and the timekeepers as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. This concludes the St. Catherine's presentation on sleep. I hope you have all enjoyed it, and maybe learnt a little too. So it's goodbye from Grace.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Victoria.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.